Drop those things that are tedious and meaningless and meaning drainers, right? And add those things in that are going to have big impact. They're going to fire you up. As go you, so go they. So if you're the leader of your group, even if it might be a leader of one, you're a solopreneur, drop the things that are small. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of What's Next. And I am so excited to kick off the start of this year with you. As we kind of roll into this, I thought it'd be kind of cool if I shared with you my take on the way I look at a new year. And I'm going to leverage not only my experience in business, but also in soccer. As most of you know, we're all about experience, not opinion here. So let me share with you really briefly. 10 years pro soccer player in Detroit and also in New York. 30 years building businesses, many with successful exits or still ongoing today. So kind of been there and done that, had plenty of halftime talks going back to my soccer world. And I like to look at the new year as kind of a halftime. And the reason I do that is I think for any of us who have played sport at a competitive level, you know that halftime is that kind of chance that you've seen what happened in the first half. Some things are working, some aren't. You get into the locker room and it's time to make some changes. And I think the new year is kind of like that as well, where we get to kind of look at what happened the last year, make some assessments, and then kind of make a game plan for what's coming next. And so I'm going to reference the way I look at it through soccer, which is using a scoreboard. And with your permission, we're just going to dive in. It's going to be fast and furious, and I think you're going to dig it. So kind of first things first is I referenced it. We're going to check the scoreboard. I mean, are we winning? Are we losing? What's working? What's not working? And more than anything, let's just catch our breath. And I think for many of you, you've been in that locker room where either the coach is putting the pedal down and let's go, let's keep leveraging what we're doing great, or he's about to rip the script in half and charge everybody a new one here and kind of make some massive changes. So in business, we like to use keep, stop, start, right? What are we going to keep doing? What are we going to stop doing? And what do we need to start doing in this next half of our performance, right? So as we look at kind of the year ahead, it's going to take a pause and check that scorecard and say, where have we been crushing it, right? If we have been doing something really amazing, let's keep doing that. Let's celebrate that. Let's keep that moving. What's been holding us back or where we've been sucking wind? Obviously, we're going to stop doing that immediately, no matter what that has to do with our performance. And start is really about kind of the mindset. So what are we going to do to take ourselves into that new mindset that we can really leverage, again, the things we were doing really well and the things that we may have been sucking at and kind of make a move into that new start to, in this case, the start to the next year. And so with the scorecard, a couple of ideas for you that have worked for us. Obviously, it's revenue, it's your P&L, it's any of those things that may have just been a way to keep score. But we like to look at them and say, what are the activities that lead to the scoreboard? So, if I'm going to use my soccer background, how many blocks did we have? How many shots on goal did we allow? If you were on offense, how many shots on goal did you take? What was your conversion rate? If the shots on goal were high, conversion rate low, we're going to talk about some things that might be a little more sort of technical in nature. If shots on goal were low, we're going to probably zoom back out and talk about things that are a little more tactical in nature. And I think we can transfer that immediate thing into where we go in business to say, are we just missing the very end of the funnel and we're not converting enough? Or we have to zoom back out and look more tactically at the top of the funnel and say, man, we're just not even getting enough leads. We're not getting enough customers to our store or to our website or whatever it might be. So looking at that scorecard is a great place, or scoreboard, interchangeable, is kind of a great place for us to kind of sit in and look at where we are today, where we are right now, and where do we need to go. And at the end of the day, look, champions don't dodge the truth, right? So if you're going to be a champion, spot it, call it out, and get ready to go to the next thing. And again, that's what leads us to this sort of emphasis that we're all moving in the same direction. We're all charging hard. I think it amps everybody up in the organization. I know it works in our family. I mean, we do it. My wife and I have twin boys that are now 23 and onto their own businesses and their own ventures. And we just came off an awesome family trip to Hawaii. And some of that time is spent literally talking about What did we do great in this last year together as a family? What do we need to stop doing that we just really sucked at it or didn't get it going? And what do we want to start doing together in the new year? So I think whether you're talking about business, whether you're talking about your relationships, we're talking about your family, there are plenty of places that really easy keep, stop, start will kind of help in that assessment, if you will. Next step is, like, once we've looked at that scoreboard and we've kind of realized where we are, is that can we make adjustments that will make a difference? Can we make adjustments that'll make a difference? We can all make adjustments, but honestly, if you're not using that scoreboard, you're sure it's not going to make a difference. And I like to use scoreboard too, because in sports, we're, for the most part, under a clock, unless you're playing baseball or golf, perhaps. But the clock is ticking. And so we don't have the next forever amount of time. We've got to make changes and adjustments that are going to happen, some immediately and some by the end of the year, some by the end of the quarter. So don't play small here. Make some things that are big moves. Dan Sullivan, in his incredible book, 10X is Easier Than 2X, talks just about that. Oftentimes, shooting for the really big goal gets us, even if we're not all the way there, these massive steps. And yet 10 times easier than 2 times, if you only set a 2 times better objective and you actually crush it, you're not that much further along. So I'm going to implore you to think big, go big, make big moves. Take this time as you're making these adjustments to create, I don't know, new formation. Using my terminology, maybe bench some players, maybe sit some guys, maybe start some people that are itching for an opportunity, which means maybe moving some of your projects into the forefront that have the chance to really be huge, and sit some of those ones that, quite frankly, just aren't working out for you. It's okay to kind of make some adjustments like that. I can think about a couple of halftime talks that I had over my career. One specifically stands out. We're at an all-star game. It was actually up in Edmonton, Canada. And that year it was Canada had a number of teams. Obviously, US had a number of teams. And it was the Canadian All-Stars versus the American All-Stars. And coming into halftime, my good friend Victor Noguera was goalkeeper in the first half. I was tasked with being the goalkeeper in the second half. And we were getting absolutely blown out and crushed. This, again, was up in Edmonton, Canada. The Canadian home fans were having a field day with it. And as we came into the locker room, our coach, Keith Tozier, had the equipment manager come in ahead of time and turn the American flag that was in our locker room upside down. And as he walked in, he pulled it down off the wall, kept it in his hand, and basically said, "You guys are being an embarrassment to U.S. soccer right now." And went on to really just rip us a new one and make some massive statements. Now, typically in an all-star game, it's fun. It's as much entertainment as is a showcase for the players, but Keith did not take it that way. And I can be honest with you, our eyes are as big as silver dollars, some of the best players in the game. And we were fired up. I mean, it was kind of an us against them. And Keith did a great job of kind of flipping the script there. I'd say I had a much easier time in the second half because most of the action was down, us scoring goals. We were down by 6 goals going into halftime, indoor soccer here. And we ended up winning with about 40 seconds left in the game on a one-on-one breakaway, and ended up taking the pennant that year in the All-Star game. So sometimes at halftime, you got to be bold, make some statements, make some big changes, change of formation. Keith certainly did it. I've learned that in my business. I remember with ProtectCell, our cell phone insurance company, we oftentimes competed against Assurian, which was 100 times bigger than us in the market. But still, even at our quarterly and annual meetings, we use the opportunity to talk about us against them, the David versus the Goliath, right? What changes could we make to kind of chip away at the armor of the big giant in our industry? So use this time as you kind of reset the new year ahead of time, again, whether it's business, family, your relationships, to think about what are those things that could make some really bold moves for you kind of coming into that new year. So in the spirit of kind of keep, stop, start, again, where are you going to double down where you dominate, right? I think that's an easy way for us to look at where are you crushing? Let's go ahead and double down on those things. We're obviously going to cut what's not working. We're going to drop some of those weaker strategies, things that might be draining your energy. That'd be a great place to look. And then what I would say as a start is a shift in mindset. Now, a shift in mindset could be, what are our new opportunities? Where are we thinking about going and growing, and then empowering again, your family, your teammates, whatever it might be, on this mindset that we are going here with new power, new direction. And that power, it enables everybody to get on the same page. And that's what helps this work. That's why at halftime in any sport, you see teams come out. We're watching a lot of football this time of year. And how many times you hear the announcers talk about, let's see what they come out with, right? Because they've shifted that mindset. And I think we can do the same thing in our business. I would also say if you're going to look within is drop the busy work. I think at this time of year, we're all focused on getting busy and of things. Drop those things that are tedious and meaningless and meaning uh, drainers, right? And add those things in that are going to have big impact. They're going to fire you up. As go you, so go they. So if you're the leader of your group, even if it might be a leader of one, you're a solopreneur, um, drop the things that are small and start focusing some of the things that are big. I think that's going to make a huge difference. Another one would be if you are working with a mentor, call that mentor that you've been avoiding, look up, find someone on LinkedIn, ask around in your circles, who should you be talking about in order to get some information, some strategy, some help to make a shift in this second half of your game plan or the start of this year or season, and ultimately stop delaying any of the uncomfortable conversations. Jeff Duden, who is a guest on our show, I love Jeff. He's a football player, smash mouth guy. And his thing is rush to conflict. And I think when he says that, the other half is you rush to conflict so that you can unearth the opportunities, not so that you can just get in and sort of lock horns with somebody. So, in the spirit of delaying those uncomfortable conversations, rush to conflict, find out what needs to be turned. We do it very quickly in locker rooms, right? We only have at best 15 minutes to make those changes. And trust me, it's pass me the effing ball. It's not, hey, if you can think about it when you get around to it. I was kind of open the last couple times in the first half. It's pass me the effing ball when you see him open. That's how we're going to do it. So again, if you're making those moves, you're going to have an impact with your organization, with your family, your relationships. And I'd say it this way, if you're not making moves, you're making excuses. All right. So make sure that you're stepping in and making those things that really do have an impact for you leading forward. Ultimately, look, there's no coasting here, right? So one of the great statements that we've heard over and over again is that it's a battleground, not a playground. And if we're going to use that as we lead into this new year, right, thinking second half mentality, when we're going to try to change the script, right? We're going to leverage what we were doing great and kind of make this move. Let's make sure that we do look at it as a battleground. Right. It's a battleground for your business. It's a battleground for your relationships. It might be a battleground for your family of what didn't work. In 2022, as many of you know that have been guests of the show or listening to the show, I went through throat cancer in 2022. It was an incredibly tough year. I went from 220 pounds down to 160. Lost most of the feeling in my upper right side of my body thanks to the surgeries they had to do in the neck and taking out some of my lymph nodes. And at the end of that year, much like it's sort of the start of this year, I had some major things to kind of think through and regroup on. Like, how was I going to change my diet to add weight on? How was I going to change my workout regime? How was I going to rebuild some of the time that I didn't have in the businesses because I was down and out for the count most of the year in 2022? So I was telling myself this was going to be a battleground year in 23. And lo and behold, coming up on a 3-year anniversary, cancer free in February of this year, 2025, we are entering that serious point of the battleground where we're still working. I'm still working on my body. I'm still working on our businesses. So I'm going to say to you, treat it that way. The results will follow. We do keep a scorecard in this issue, right? That leverages our scoreboard theory so that we know if we don't measure it, we can't beat it. So we try to keep these things, whether it's the number of date nights I have in a year or literally the number of activities that are going to lead to sales in our businesses, to how we grow our partnerships. Everything has a number to it so we can keep it in the scorecard. And at the end of the quarter, at the end of the year, we know whether we're kind of winning or losing. And that's the idea here. At halftime, we're going to reset those numbers. So as you break down the year to come, I'd suggest, or maybe emphasize, breaking into quarters, right? Take those quarters and break them down into months, and then take those months into weeks and days and win the day. At the end of the day, that momentum is going to compound itself. So if you're not winning the day, you're going to lose tomorrow. And if you lose tomorrow, you're losing the next. You win today, you win tomorrow. Tomorrow makes a week makes a month, and so on and so forth. So stack up those small wins, create those victories. Look, there's no coasting. There's no waiting for this next month to pass, certainly not this next year. This is your moment, right? If you're going to do something, make a change. Take this halftime to do something that's empowering for you and your team to kind of move into this next year. And I would say, if anything, let's do this cleanup, right? Let's kind of clean up what's going on and then make it go time. Let's turn this into a go time for the second half of your business cycle, the beginning of this next year. And ultimately, my call to action for all of you is to face the truth, right? One of the great things about sports is there's kind of no excuses. You kind of look up at that scoreboard and you say, we're winning or losing. It's not about, gosh, I was trying really hard. I was doing my best, but gosh, we still lost. No, there are no excuses. So face the truth, make those bold adjustments. In some cases, it might mean dropping the dead weight, no pun intended, right? But if you're looking around your organization and you're saying, look, we've been having this discussion month after month, quarter after quarter, and so is not pulling their weight. These partners seem to be dragging us down. It's probably time to kind of bench those players, right? Let's take them off the field. Let's move into somebody that can take us into that next spot and attack the second half like a champion. So a couple of action items I'm going to give you. Something you could do simple today in probably 15 to 20 minutes is to write down one thing that you're going to be cutting out of either this week, this month, this quarter. I'd like to know one thing that you're doubling down on that you found works either in this past year, or maybe that's worked for you historically in the past, and one win that you're creating for this week, right? And if you could, share it with us. Tag me on social using hashtag what's next halftime, or just tag us inside the quotes down below. But at the end of the day, I want you to dig in and ask yourself, are you in the game or are you sitting on the bench? Right? I mean, that's a pretty simple one. Are you in the game or are you sitting on the bench? So hope you've enjoyed this quick hit. Can't wait to kind of get into this next year with everybody. It's been an amazing 2024. And as we head into 2025, I'm looking at my scoreboard and saying, where can I double down? What are the things I got to keep, stop, and start? We're going to spend a lot of time talking about that with our guests coming up in this next year. As always, if we can help you, reach out to us, right? Whether that's talking about helping you unearth your opportunity, maybe just spending 30 minutes going through what your business looks like today. And maybe we can help you get a fresh set of eyes on it and help you look at that differently. Maybe we can help you plug in with others who have been there before you have and are open and willing to helping you see that past. Or maybe you've helped somebody and we can add you as a resource into our group of people that are constantly asking questions. So, as always, if you love what you see, like and subscribe. That's how we grow the channel. Looking forward to an amazing year. Coming up in probably an episode or two, we're going to have some really amazing guests that are going to dig in and talk about building the framework for businesses that succeed over time. And I know you're going to enjoy the start to the year. I could go deeper and deeper on who else we're bringing in, but more than anything, we're trying to help you figure out what's next. We love having you here. Like, subscribe, join us on this journey, and we'll see you discover what's next.